We've all been told from a young age that honesty is the best policy. But the truth is we're all liars, and we lie a lot. Research by the University of Virginia found that men and women lie to about 30% of the people they have a one-on-one conversation with in a week. They also discovered that men often lied to impress others, while women were more likely to lie to avoid hurting other people's feelings. To some extent, lying is considered a sign of intelligence. It is a cognitive skill that involves multiple parts of the brain. The prefrontal cortex, which handles decision-making and impulse control, works overtime when we lie. The amygdala processes our emotions when we lie, making us feel guilty. The temporal lobe also plays a role, responsible for retrieving memories and creating fake scenarios in our head. Paul Ekman, a psychologist, identifies 9 reasons why people lie: to avoid punishment, to protect someone, to get out of an awkward situation, to maintain privacy, to win admiration, to get a reward that would be hard to receive otherwise, to avoid embarrassment, to manipulate others, and lastly, to protect ourselves from physical or emotional harm. But do any of these reasons make lying morally acceptable or even necessary? What about when telling the truth causes more harm than good? Well, Immanuel Kant's ethical theory, known as Kantian ethics, had something to say about this. He argued that lying is always wrong, regardless of the circumstance, because it violates a universal moral law. For Kant, honesty was an act of moral duty, a principle that should be followed by everyone in every situation, even if it leads to bad consequences. Mill and Aristotle, on the other hand, saw things differently. Mill, the founder of utilitarianism, argued that lying could be acceptable if it leads to a greater good for the greatest number of people. And Aristotle, founder of the virtue ethics theory, believed that a virtuous person would naturally make good decisions because their character has been formed through habits of right action. In our everyday lives, we often face moral dilemmas that blur the lines sometimes because not all lies are created equal. There are white lies, the harmless fibs we tell to spare someone's feelings, like telling a friend you love their new haircut when you're not so sure. Then there are exaggerations, where we stretch the truth to make a situation sound much better or worse than it really is. Lies of omission are when we leave out details to shape the narrative in our favor or to maintain privacy. But when do these harmless lies become more than just bending the truth? The key lies in why and how often we lie. Interestingly, lying can also be linked to age. A survey on workers who lied to get out of work showed that the working population between the ages of 39 to 60 were less inclined to lie to get out of work than those who were 30 and younger. The more we lie, the harder it becomes to tell the truth. This is because repeated lying desensitizes the amygdala, making us feel less guilty over time. One of the biggest risks of repeated lying is losing your own sense of reality. This condition, called pseudologia fantastica, happens when a person becomes so entangled in their lies, they begin to believe them. It can also take a toll on relationships. Trust is the foundation for any healthy relationship, and lying destroys trust over time. Once trust is broken, it can be extremely difficult to rebuild. Chronic liars often face isolation as people begin to distance themselves, creating psychological distress. It is also important to note that different cultures perceive lying differently. Lying in the West is often regarded as a serious offense, while in some Eastern cultures, lying about things such as personal property, children, or work is considered more acceptable. So where do we draw the line between a harmless lie and one that causes harm? And how do we know when lying is truly justified? The truth is, lying, however big or small, creates a gap between you and the other person. And while different theories and cultures are inconclusive to what extent a lie is justifiable, one thing remains certain: a lie is a lie, is a lie.